again. Try number 2, since somebody can't keep their hands away from the pause button.
I'm sorry.
No, you're good. It's just, annoying a little bit. We'll get past it. All right, back to what we were just talking about was the Bills again, who I'd say had an average season. And my ranking, again, I will go over it, is 5.0 average. Anything below average. Anything above 5.0, above average. And I gave him just a 5.0 average season, 7.0 on talent, 7.0 on staff talent, which is mostly just Sean McDermott and mostly the offensive coordinators, because I don't know enough to know their talent in depth to all the position coaches and all that, so I'm just basing it off of head coach, offensive coordinators for each team. So,
Buffalo did pretty decent, I'd say, considering all, but
yeah, I mean,
not
they
nothing
keep
too
falling,
stellar.
they keep falling short to Kansas City, which is going to happen to pretty much everybody, considering they just won back-to-back
Super Bowls, and they honestly are looking like they want a three-peat.
Yeah, I wouldn't put it against them. I mean, if Vegas wants to put the odds that anyone other than Kansas City being the favorite to win, I don't think you're being honest with yourself.
I think you're giving some bad odds.
Yeah, I mean,
It's letting some people make money.
Yeah, it wouldn't make sense to me to not have Kansas City be the favorite to win the Super Bowl. It just doesn't make sense. But moving on with the AFC East, we got the Dolphins, who started out the season great. We're in crazy good.
In full throttle,
I mean,
fucking
they
go mode.
Yeah, they just destroyed Denver,
Tyreek Hill.
70-20.
Talk about 70-yard touchdowns, bombs.
I mean, Tyreek Hill had an MVP season.
Yep.
I mean, he didn't win it, and obviously they're probably never going to give the
To be
wide
honest,
receiver.
that first 6, Tua even started out pretty stellar until he just started to let everyone else do the work. Raheem Mostert
Yeah,
down.
I mean, Tua's a different topic right now, but Tua's kind of like everyone kind of talks about him like Brock Purdy a little bit, where they don't really know if he's good.
They still don't know if he's the one
Or they
yet,
don't know if he's the talent around him.
Yeah.
It's
hard to say when you got a lot of big hitters coming with you.
Yeah, I mean, but at the same time, it's like every good player's always had good players around them. So
right. Joe Montana and Jerry Rice.
Exactly.
It goes Tom Brady, Gronkowski.
Yeah,
hand
the
in
list
hand.
goes on. I mean, it's the way it is.
You can always make a case for that.
But back to the Dolphins with their season in general.
If I had to say,
since they started out so hot, I mean, going into the season, I think most people probably expected the Bills to win the division, which they did.
Yeah.
So that was expectations met, and that's why mostly I gave the Bills a 5.0 average, because they did manage to turn their season around and win the division somehow. Dolphins collapsed and fell apart at the end of the season, but I'm basing this off of preseason expectations, so I gave them a 5.5, so a little bit above expectations of what they got.
I think over the Bills kind of wild just because
it's just a little bit.
That is fair. I guess you aren't as established yet, and Josh Allen is one of them goats.
And that's said because it's my preseason expectation. Because if it was my expectation halfway through the season, of course they would be probably like a 3.0, because they almost like the Eagles collapsed the second half of the season and just blew a couple games that easily could have won the division, had a home playoff game.
Yeah.
Not had to go to Kansas City in negative degree temperatures to try to win.
Ain't that the dream?
Yeah. So I only gave him a 5.5 on expectation, and then a 7.5 and a 7.5 on talent and staff talent. So I think they're a little bit better on talent and staff talent than Buffalo. I don't really like Sean McDermott that much. I do like Mike McDaniel for the Dolphins a lot. I think he's got some growing to do as a coach, but I think he's better than McDermott, a lot better. My rating doesn't really say that, but that's a different thing, I think.
To say he's better than McDermott, yeah. To say he's on the same level now, I'm not going to say that he's not. I think he personally makes a really similar scheme, in my opinion, too.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough to dethrone McDermott because not dethrone, he hasn't won anything, but McDermott has been a head coach for a lot longer and been in the division longer. and has a lot more division titles.
A lot more experience in the division games too.
Yeah, so it's tough to say that, but it's also when you got Josh Allen as your quarterback, it's expectation.
Mm-hmm.
So,
I mean, we've seen this guy jump over people who are 6+ foot.
Yeah. So, but moving on to possibly the two worst teams in the NFL.
Oof.
The New York Jets, who I think going into the season, everyone was like, Aaron Rodgers, here we go. And they're making the playoffs. They're winning the division. Like, honestly, yeah, people even were making the argument that the Jets were going to beat the Bills if they had healthy Aaron Rodgers to win the division. I don't know if that would have been the case at all, because this Jets team...
Yeah, the fall from grace after Rodgers is
I mean, they got a couple players here and there, but for the most part, I don't really think they're that good of a team.
No. They're not a great structured team at all. I mean, you got to think they got position players, but at the same time, you have no structure. So what's the positions doing?
Yeah.
If you ain't got a good coaching system,
and they got Garrett Wilson,
you ain't got a good, reliable, healthy roster. You ain't got What are you doing here? It's a dumpster fire right now.
I mean, it sucks to be a Jets fan, and it's understandable as a Lions fan to wonder and think, are we ever going to have any sort of meaningful success again?
Hey, go Detroit, though, all day.
Yeah, I mean, it's easy to sympathize with a team like the Jets fan base, because it's just constantly year after year of just disappointment. And as a Lions fan, we know all about that.
Many disappointing nights.
But I gave them a 2.5 for their expectation on the year, because with Aaron Rodgers going down, and people, honestly, I think overrated the roster. People were picking the team to win 10, 11 games, and I think, don't quote me, but I think they won 6 games, which is not that great. And I gave him a 4.0 on talent and a 4.5 on staff talent. I'm not that big on Robert Saleh as a head coach. Good defensive coordinator.
Great defensive coordinator.
Don't think he's that great of a head coach. And
it's like the story when Matt Patricia tried to come be a head coach.
Well, Matt Patricia's a whole different animal.
Yeah,
he's just
let him sit wherever he's at right now. He can stay.
I think most NFL fan bases now can agree. Matt Patricia sucks.
Not him.
Like, the Eagles hate him because he just, I don't know if you were paying too close to the Eagles, but he was the coordinator, I think, for half the season there for the defensive side. So, and then he was offensive and coordinator last year for New England or whatever, with like split job with Joe Judge. And it's like, what is this guy doing? Like, he's just picking a job wherever he can find one, and I don't think he's that good. And I don't think he was ever that good. I mean,
I think he was just covered up by Bill Belichick and his greatness.
Yeah, and he gave up 41 to Nick Foles in a Super Bowl. And Tom Brady has the all-time Super Bowl passing yards in that Super Bowl, and he lost. You're the defensive coordinator for that team, and we hired him after that.
You let 7 touchdowns go unanswered. Well, not unanswered, but you let 7 touchdowns go with your defense just rolling over most of the time.
Yeah, I mean, they let the Philly special happen. They let
Nick Foles to catch a touchdown when he throws 7.
Yeah, but let's go to New England now to finish up the division. We got. I think most people expected this team to be better. I don't think people expected them to bottom out like they did this year.
I think if you're New England, you're calling every team trying to pawn Mac Jones off for cupcakes and
I don't
donuts.
think anybody wants Mac Jones. I don't think nobody. You're not going to get anything for him.
There was a point in time where a lot of people might have wanted Mac Jones.
Maybe, but the thing with New England is, I think most people came into the year thinking 9-8 win team. Maybe that. Maybe a little bit less, maybe a little bit more. Because of Bill Belichick. They're going to play good. They're going to be in games. It really wasn't the case at all. The offense was awful. It was terrible. And they couldn't do anything. I mean, I think they had a couple games this year. They literally got shut out. Like, a couple of games. Like, an NFL team getting shut out numerous times in a season. I don't even think the 0-16 Lions did that.
No.
I don't even think the 0-16 Browns did that.
Man, that's some tragicness. Just
So,
due to the fact too that you're in a division with so many excelling teams besides the Jets,
well,
and you're worse than them, damn near.
I don't have any sympathy for the fans because
No.
it's New England.
So, I'm about to say I was one of them fans.
Yeah.
A lot of rings. I'm not mad.
So I gave them a 2.0 on the expectations for the season, which might even be too high. And then I gave them a 1.5 on talent for the team because I don't think they got a defensive rookie that got hurt. I think week 2. I can't remember his name. Corner, I think. He's pretty good. He looked like he was going to be pretty good. If he can come back pretty good, I think they'll be all right. And again, on the staff talent, I gave it a 7.5. But this, mind you, is based on the talent that was there and not the talent that's going to be there next season. So I do still rate Belichick very highly at 7.5.
You always got to give him his due. He knows what he's doing still, whether he's old or not.
So yeah,
What did they get total now?
Yeah, but I still rate him very highly. But this is based on the staff talent, not like what they did in the year, just what I think of them. This is again my opinion. So you think what you want.
Yeah, do what you will.
All right, moving to the AFC North, which one of the highest rated teams, which is in one of their division, is the Ravens.
Oh, Baltimore. We love Lamar.
Fall short in the playoffs.
But he has not managed to do anything when it comes down to the playoffs.
It sucks. I don't want to put that whole game that they lost.
No, never can put that whole game on him. But at the same time, when it's becoming a recurring theme for the team, we got to put it either on Lamar or Harbaugh. It's one of them.
He hasn't. His best game in the playoffs at least came this year against the Texans because he balled out in that game, the game before. So he does have that one because before that he really hadn't played a good playoff game. I mean, he had, I think, a playoff. I don't know if he had a playoff win to that point. I'm not sure. But it's been tough for him in the playoffs, and it doesn't help when you're. I think they ran the ball 6 times with their running back in that game. It's like, I think they were one of the highest rated rushing teams in the league, and you don't run the ball.
Well, a lot of people get hooked up on name value with the Ravens too because Latavius Murray was their starting running back about a year ago.
Was he?
And
I don't remember.
That's crazy. That's someone like Latavius Murray who was that old.
I don't think he was.
I'm pretty sure Latavius Murray was running back for the Ravens last season.
I don't know. I don't pay much attention to the
Maybe
Ravens.
I think it might have been after an injury though. But he wasn't the starter for the beginning of the year.
They've been trying to get J.K. Dobbins, I think it's J.K. Dobbins going for
some time now.
And he just every preseason or before the season even starts, he tears his Achilles or his ACL or something, and the dude just can't stay healthy, which sucks. But who knows?
He's getting rebuilt.
I don't know if he's going to be in the league much longer, to be honest, just because how many injuries he's had, and he hasn't really seen much field time.
No.
But Ravens, I gave him a 9.0 on expectations for the season because they won a division.
They had a bye week in the playoffs.
They're possibly the toughest fucking division.
Yeah.
In the entire NFL.
They won the whole conference.
Yeah.
Crazy.
You have the Browns, Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh is. They're defensively sound. Offensively,
they're always going to go 500. So if you get in their way, they're going to beat you to get that record.
And Cincinnati is a tough team always, just because of Joe Burrow now. I mean, they're basically
Well, Cincinnati's going to be a little thing until Burrow gets himself right too, with him being injured and such last season.
Yeah, I mean they just can't.
Once he gets himself together, though, and everything's good, I think that team's going to be 11-5 or 11-6, 12-5.
They should with their offensive line. They can't. They generally don't find offensive linemen for him, and I don't know the history of offensive linemen for Cincinnati, but it doesn't seem like they ever have them, at least that great of them. But back to the Ravens, I'll give them a 9.0 on talent, and then an 8.5 on staff talent. So
staff obviously going with Harbaugh most of that. He's just a good coach. He knows what he's doing.
And then Mike McDonald just got a head coaching job for Seattle, so obviously he is very good. And then offensive coordinator, not sure. I think it's Todd Monken. He had a really good year, although again that playoff game plan was kind of weird. But you can't really ignore the entire regular season and everything before that just because of one playoff game, which a lot of people like to do at the end of the year. They just look at the final game and say,
completely forget
this
that
person sucks, this player sucks, and they just ignore the entire season that happened before it. It's like, well, I mean, it's about consistency, is it not?
can't do that.
All right. So they got 26.5 total scores. So they outscored everyone in the AFC East.
Crazy.
Yeah. And then the Cleveland Browns, they, I think, exceeded expectations extremely, just because if you go into the season, you're not expecting them to win the division. You're probably picking Cincinnati or Baltimore.
Yeah, definitely picking someone like Baltimore or Cincinnati.
Yeah, and then Deshaun Watson coming into the season he still hasn't really returned to Houston. And does anyone really want him to succeed? I don't.
No.
I don't.
I'm telling you, we're not Deshaun Watson fans
I'm
around
a
these parts.
Deshaun Watson hater around here. But I think most people are. But it's just kind of funny to just hate on him just because. But they went through. They're both backups, which is Dorian Thompson Smith or something, and he wasn't all that great. And they had another backup that wasn't all that great, and then here comes the comeback player of the year, Joe Flacco, to pull him out of the
dirt and take him right to the playoffs.
It's like Undertaker just comes up out of the dead.
Oh man!
They lost Nick Chubb to a gruesome injury early in the season.
Lose Deshaun Watson to whatever the hell.
Yeah, I mean, he seems like he's just collecting a check at this point.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
money to be made on his behalf, right?
I mean, he's got a fully guaranteed contract. What's the incentive for him to play?
There is none.
Exactly. You get all the money whether you play or not. It's the craziest contract it's signed in football history. I don't think there's anything crazier than that. But Cleveland, I gave them a little bit of above average of a 6.0 for their season expectation. Maybe I should have put it a little bit higher, but I put it a little bit lower because they kind of fell a little bit flat against Houston when Flacco in the playoffs just kind of threw it away. But, without Flacco, they're not even there to begin with.
Yeah, without Mr. Joe, you ain't really doing much because you probably would have lost at least 3 out of those last 5 games.
Yeah.
At least.
Yeah, and then I put them at 7.5 on talent and an 8.0 on staff talent.
Yeah.
So, I think they got one of the best defenses in the league. They got Denzel Ward, Myles Garrett, who just won Defensive Player of the Year. Some people can argue T.J. Watt won it, but I think that's, you can bring up the numbers and say across the board, T.J. Watt did this better, this better, this better, this better. But to a team, they're both very important to their defenses. Obviously, when you take one off of their team, they're not the same defense, obviously. So it's a weird word because it seems like they don't want to give it back to certain players just because. So, I don't know. I think Myles Garrett deserves it, and people are going to argue otherwise, but just because TJ Watt's stats, and yeah, I guess you can make the argument, but at the end of the day, he didn't win it. So, They got the Defensive Player of the Year in Cleveland. So what? And they got the Coach of the Year and the Comeback Player of the Year. They won a lot of awards this year. So I'll show Cleveland a little bit of love since Pittsburgh's got a lot of love throughout their history. With their
Hey, that's fair. Got a lot of love with that. As long as Deshaun ain't getting most of this attention, then I'm cool with it.
Yeah. I'll show
Cleveland did pretty great.
Almost everyone on Cleveland the love except for that guy.
Except for that man. Yeah.
And Njoku, Craig came back from I think a firework injury and a burned face. Almost looks like he didn't even have a burned face at this point, and had a great season. I think he went to the Pro Bowl. So, I mean, the Cleveland, great year, honestly. The only thing they could ask for more is a playoff win, but what are you going to do? It's playoffs.
Just playoffs at that point.
Yeah, it's the way it happens sometimes. I mean, as a Lions fan, we know getting into the playoffs is hard enough, and we also know one and done very well. We know how it's like to get into the playoffs and then just get disappointed that first game every single time. It sucks.
Get in there and get bounced. It's not it.
I mean, we went 30 odd years without winning one of those games, and we, I think, lost 9 in a row, something like that. So and that sucks. But you
What
get
we got?
over it.
What we got next on
We
there?
got Pittsburgh.
Oh, Pittsburgh. I got here. Let me guess for that coaching. Obviously, I'd say you got to give it a 7.
I give him an 8.0, just a little bit below, because I
could have gave him 500. You know, he's always good at getting that.
Yeah, I got Mike Tomlin and John Harbaugh and similar, but I do think Mike Tomlin is a little bit overrated, a little bit, just because, not because of the talent he's got around him, just because I mean, he's definitely like a motivator coach. He's not an X's and O's coach. He's not like Andy Reid. He's not just out there calling plays. He's more of like making you want to fight somebody.
Yeah, making me want to get up and get at it type guy.
Yeah. So I mean, he's definitely like a more football coach in that sense, like meathead.
Like an old bro kind of.
Yeah, kind of like Dan Campbell, but Dan's the epitome, the epitome of meathead.
Yeah.
I mean,
break your kneecaps and take you down and then get you again.
Yeah. Expectation for the season, I think. Again, Pittsburgh, with that good of a defense, they're the same sort of situation as Cleveland, and I think Cleveland did more with less.
A lot more with a lot less.
Because Cleveland's doesn't have the offensive wide receiver talent that Pittsburgh does. They got what's his name?
Deontay Johnson.
No, Cleveland. They got wide receiver that was from the Cowboys and the Raiders.
Mari Cooper.
Yes, Mari Cooper. He's really good, but other than that, and Njoku, he's pretty good. But offensive talent.
And without a run threat, how good can them guys even be?
I mean, they got that.
And Nick Chubb ain't there right now.
And they got, the thing is, Cleveland's got, I think, a more well-rounded roster than Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh's offensive line is just not that great anymore. Their quarterback play is so 50-50. I mean, Kenny Pickett, I don't think's the guy. I don't think Mason Rudolph's the guy. And that dude's almost, I think, 30 years old playing as a backup. I mean, he's been the backup since Ben Roethlisberger was there.
Mason Rudolph is a character. I'll say that.
Yeah, I mean, everyone really just knows him from the time he got slapped upside the head by Myles Garrett.
With a helmet.
Yeah, with his own helmet.
Gosh. So what do we got to say for their real overall score?
I gave him a 19.5 on the total score, which is...
That's right around average.
Like I said, the overall ratings I don't think are a true tell of how good their team is, because I'm also rating on pure talent and pure coaching talent, which isn't a tell of the season that they had. That is more of the top rating, which is a 4.5. So, but this is just my own personal rating that I made on my own head, pretty much.
Yeah, I still like how it's going.
But Cincinnati, they lost Joe Burrow. I mean, what else can you say?
Yeah, that was rough. Mixon got injured.
They started the season with him hurt. They ended the season with Joe Burrow hurt. I mean,
him and then Mixon going down too was not that great. Yeah, I think Tyler Boyd not Tyler Boyd.
I'm not too familiar with what happened in Cincinnati this year, other than Joe Burrow went down and that was pretty much KO. You're done.
Not much happening after that.
But you know, you can say that with almost every team.
Mahomes
when you lose your starting quarterback, you're pretty much done. The Jets, Vikings.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
write your season out and get in the playboard.
You can try to salvage it, but it's gonna be tough. It'll be very tough to do. But we'll just blow through Cincinnati real quick. It's 2.5, 5, and a 7.0 for.
Not much going there. That was just a year that they want to probably forget.
I like their coach, Zach Taylor. I don't think he's great. Don't think he's exceptional. Don't think he's bad. Don't think he's mediocre. But just right.
Evan McPherson can kick that thing. Average. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And I think their talent's just average.
Yeah.
So I put him at literally a 5.0. But moving on to Houston, I gave them a whopping 10.0 on expectation, because I think almost everybody was wowed, just blown away by how good Houston did this year, with the defense going from basically 30th in the league to one of the top 10 defenses. And then you have C.J. Stroud, who just has one of the best rookie seasons of all time as a quarterback. I mean,
comes out of Ohio and does great things. I
mean,
don't like Ohio State. He's doing great.
We don't like Ohio State that much, but we respect Ohio State.
We respect that Mans is doing pretty good. I give him it.
Yeah,
he's cutting up out there in the big leagues.
He's really something. He's got to be consistent because we've all seen quarterbacks come in, have a good year, and then not been able to keep it up. I mean, Matt Jones, for goodness sake, went to the Pro Bowl his first year. Everyone knows bringing that up. That's a Patriots fan or a Mac Jones defender. So it's. I liked Mac Jones coming into the draft, but like I said, it's tough to determine who's going to end up staying consistently good and being good consistently, because it's also another thing is like it's football. You might get hurt. How durable are you as a player?
A lot of people might get hurt on that field. Everybody who steps on that field might get hurt.
Yeah, because Andrew Luck might have been the GOAT, but if he doesn't get so many concussions and gets hurt as much, he could have. I mean, if you look back to Andrew Luck's rookie season, I don't know if there's much better seasons. No. And he had like 4,000 passing yards as a rookie in a 16 game season.
And that's following up all the greatness and everything that Peyton left over there. He came on the scene and just turned it around.
The thing is, when you come in as the number one overall pick and the expectations are through the roof, and you basically go through the roof on those expectations, it's incredible. And I think Andrew Luck's one of those few people that's ever been. Expectations are high. They keep getting higher. They keep getting higher, and he keeps beating them. And he's like LeBron. He just kept meeting the expectations.
Kept getting there.
Yeah, it's unfortunate he had to retire early because of injuries, but I don't think many people can debate Andrew Luck he is the real deal. So we'll see with C.J. Stroud because he seems similar to that.
He's a beast, man. I'm telling you, C.J. Stroud really does know what he's doing when he comes to the helm.
We'll just move along because I don't think too many people are too interested in the rest of these teams.
Yeah.
I think, at least I'm not. Personally. Jacksonville, I like Trevor Lawrence. They completely blew the season. They were 8-3 at one point. They didn't win the division. How does that happen?
That's a
complete failure.
I think that's a failure on the coaching staff and the players, to be honest. Just an all-around total system breakdown.
Total collapse. And there's been stats that brought up there was a point.
The number one picks that went on that team too, man. Come on.
Trevor Lawrence, I think, did get hurt, and that started their downward slide when he was still playing. It's who knows? I mean, they fell below expectations. Jacksonville, they should have won the division, didn't win the division. Sorry, see you next year.
Yeah, come on. Get things together.
Indianapolis had a rookie quarterback, Andrew Richardson. Got hurt fairly early in the year. Didn't really know. They had to run it with Gardner Minshew for the rest of the year. So
that's about as good as it gets.
You went above expectations because you played the last game of the year for the division against Houston. So you could have went to the playoffs. So that's above expectations. I think you should be happy if you're a Colts fan right now because you didn't really. I don't know if there's a whole lot of downward looking right now. You might be a little bit more middle of the road team next year, but I think there's hope for something good. Tennessee, though.
Ooh.
Tennessee, I don't really know.
Failure. I mean, considering that you're letting Ryan Tannehill run that helm still is bad. Derrick Henry did decent. He just tried to do what he could do. DeAndre Hopkins played stellar. Who was it? Who came in after? Will Levis was playing very solid.
Will Levis I like a lot.
I think Levis got good potential, but I just think that Tannehill starting even that season wasn't right.
I mean, it makes sense why he's...
Just the veteran status, but man...
you need a quarterback that knows what he's doing, generally. And with Mike Vrabel, because he started this season, he's not there anymore currently. But Mike Vrabel... I pretty much back everything he does because I don't know how he got fired. It really doesn't make sense to me. I don't think anyone expected him to get fired.
No.
But he got fired anyway. obviously they weren't meeting expectations this year, but I don't think many people expected Tennessee to be that good this year. I don't think many people came into the season saying, "Look out for Tennessee." I don't think that was the case. So, in my opinion, they actually met expectations because they were, I think 6-7 win team, which is right around where I expected them to be. So, in my opinion, they had an average season. So, I don't think there's much more to say about them. Going over to the final AFC, which is our Super Bowl champ, Kansas City. I mean, I don't think there's much to be said other than
they get damn near perfect
They're the
score.
Super Bowl champ.
They came through in the clutch.
The only thing
Mahomes
that
ain't never
is
scared.
really to be said is their talent on the wide receiver position specifically, and offensive line. If you watch a lot of the Chiefs games, offensive line kind of sucked. They got away with a lot of holdings, but anyone that's a Chiefs hater is always gonna bring that up. I'm gonna just bring it up just because it's true, and it's also a hater because there's always gonna be no calls on holds and no calls on penalties in games all the time. As a Lions fan, I know that very well. they will call penalties. It feels like whether they want it or not. Sometimes it really, I don't know the way they see it. I don't think anyone does. That's why there's so many people that complain or talk about the refs the way they do.
I feel like
if you're coming down to the conclusion that they only won because of the refs, you're coming to the wrong conclusion because this Kansas City team they're the real deal.
I feel like if you're going to hate on Mahomes, you got to bring some things that aren't going to be really, too crazy because this man just exceeds every expectation you have for him usually.
Yeah, I mean,
you tell him to go and jump to the moon, he's going to jump and grab it.
He didn't even come into the draft as a high prospect, so he never had these expectations. He almost, I guess the closest comparison at this point is Tom Brady, so it's like you got to compare him to it. He was drafted 5th round. Pat was 1st round, but even still, when you're drafted after, I think, 2 or 3 quarterbacks that were drafted ahead of him, I think Mitchell Trubisky was that draft. So he and another quarterback, I believe, got drafted before Pat. And it's like, and you're not the first couple quarterbacks looked at. You're generally not going to be paid attention to that much. I mean, you can look at this draft even. I mean, Bryce Young, C.J. Stroud. Name another quarterback that got drafted this year. I can't.
Yeah.
I can't. I mean, there might have been a guy that people liked, and I think there may have been another quarterback that got drafted fairly high, but I don't know. I don't know who it is. I can't think of it off the top of my head. It probably would, if I heard the name, I'd probably be like, oh yeah, that guy. But I can't think of him right now. So you generally only do think of those first 2 guys. So when you have Pat Mahomes that got drafted basically 3rd, I think, people forgot about him, and he didn't have those expectations. He was able to build and learn all the football knowledge, and the dude just came out and became an alien first year.
Yeah.
I mean, he had 50 touchdowns as a first-year starter. Not a rookie, but a first-year starter.
That's just that build, man. He was a baseball pro before that, too.
Yeah,
Dude was a demon. Tigers draftee.
Yeah, he got drafted by the Tigers. I wouldn't call him a pro because he didn't play professionally.
No, but Tigers draftee, man.
Yeah, he got drafted by the Tigers.
Come home, Pat.
And I think he's going to take his...
Yeah, he wants the Kansas money. That's a lot more...
The football money is different when you're a good quarterback.
A lot better than that baseball money.
I mean, baseball money is good because it's fully guaranteed, but it's tough to get.
Don't worry, we'll talk about that another time.
Yeah, we'll get to baseball, a different scenario. But moving along into the AFC West, the rest of the teams in this division.
The Chargers next.
I don't think any team in this division, if you're a fan of any of these teams, I think the only team that has a good thing going in the next season is possibly the Chargers, just because you got Jim Harbaugh and Justin Herbert.
Yeah.
But even then, they're in cap hell, and they got to get rid of some of those old guys. Like, they got to make some choices on Keenan Allen and Khalil Mack and Joey Bosa and some of these guys because they can't pay them all anymore. They just can't. That's their problem. Denver, I mean, you're coming into the first year of that extension that you signed for Russell Wilson. Do you cut him or do you not cut him? If you cut him, you're gonna have a $65 million cap hit, I think, or dead cap space this year.
Yeah, I think you just gotta sit him. You can't take that hit because then who are you gonna be able
to
pick up?
Then you gotta play him.
Or not, yeah, play him. I bet.
But I don't think Russell Wilson's the answer. So if you're Denver going next year, what are you looking forward to? I don't think there's that much to look forward to, which sucks. That sucks as a fan. Because as the Matt Patricia years, at the end of the year, I had that question myself. I was like, what are we looking forward to next year? With Matt Patricia, it was another.
You're looking forward to some L's.
Yeah, it was nothing good. Matt Patricia sucked. So I don't think it's Sean Payton's fault. Denver isn't that great, but I don't think it sucks when you're in the division with Kansas City. I'll say that. And then Vegas, their coach got fired.
Oh yeah.
And so did the Chargers. So we kind of forgot about that. Their coach got fired.
But hey, they did bring in a hard hitter.
Yeah. So
yeah,
Vegas. I mean, there's not much more to be said about Vegas other than one of the Raiders going to be the Raiders again.
Hopefully sometime soon, because now a lot of people are already mad that you left Oakland and now you're not doing nothing in Vegas.
Well, the thing is with the Raiders is
you're going to make Oakland fans get pissed and have a bad rep.
They have like this reputation like the Steelers, but they haven't had the football team that really backs it up.
Nope.
In a long time.
They had a great squad back in days when it was
and like the 60s,
what?
70s, and 80s, they were great. But that's way before my time. And it's all just history to me. My vision of the Raiders is
Derek Carr.
Terrible. And even before Derek Carr, they were awful. They were one of the worst teams in the NFL. I think they had a season that went like 2-14. It was like, this is the Raiders. The Raiders are going 2-14.
Not it.
It's bad for the brand.
It's horrible for the brand.
But it's tough to when you're in the division with Mahomes. So I don't know. I have a little bit of sympathy, not a ton. But moving on to probably the division I don't like the most, which is the NFC East. And that has Dallas winning it. They shouldn't have won their division because the Lions beat them. With the refs screwed it up.
That's just nonsense that game even exists.
I mean, we're gonna sound like little whiners, and I just kind of hypocritical complaining about refs, but that one, in my opinion, is a lot more blatant screw up than not just a no call, because they called a penalty when there should have been no penalty.
Yeah, you should have called the damn norm. You shouldn't have do anything.
This isn't a judge this isn't like a judgment call penalty. This is a matter of a fact penalty. Like it's a yes or no question.
I'll fight any NFL refs that's on my team.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, you're going to get more sensitive when you're talking about your team.
Yeah, but at the same time, we're not even talking about our team. We're talking about Dallas right now,
It was so much fun to watch Dallas just get stomped by our rival, Green Bay. Oh, man. Good stuff, Green Bay.
Got JL in that bitch, no J-Lo. He gonna win that win. Destroy Dallas.
Man, it's funny because
Dak Prescott can't win playoff games if you had to make him.
It's really funny because I feel like it's the NFC East and the NFC West are always talking about which division's better. Nobody ever talks about the NFC North, and I honestly think Chicago, they're not great, but they're kind of an underrated bad team, in my opinion. They'll get you on your bed. If they get you on your off day, they will beat you, and they can get you good. Not like some of these other bad teams like New England. They catch you on your bad day, they might not score more than 3 points. I mean, Chicago can at least put up 20 something.
Yeah. Put up a couple extra points for you.
Minnesota and Green Bay, they have a history of just being really good. And Detroit, well, we kind of suck. But but now we're pretty good. So I think we have a case that we might have one of the best divisions going into next year. But back to the NFC East. Dallas, your season, like everyone's been saying, it doesn't start until the postseason next year, and it didn't start until the postseason this year, and you failed. You're basically 0-1. Who cares about the 12-win season? It means nothing because you did 3 in a row and you did nothing in the playoffs.
Tell Jerry Jones to spend less time doing scandals and get more involved with the team.
I don't know. I don't know about Jerry.
Jerry Land's fallen far from grace. I'll tell you this. Looking more like Walmart now.
Here's a funny fact: Green Bay in the postseason has more wins in Jerry World than the Cowboys have postseason wins in Jerry World.
And that's why we love Green Bay right now.
Think about that, right? So that means Green Bay has to play at Dallas and get a win in their stadium.
Yep.
They just have to get a win at home.
Yep.
They have more wins on the road at their place
than they do at home in the playoffs.
It's and one of them's a Super Bowl.
This is why. Go A-Rod, bro. Go A-Rod.
It's like it's fun to just crap on the Cowboys. I hate the Cowboys.
Yeah.
That's one franchise I hate.
Cowboys ain't my friends, bro.
I don't like the Eagles that much better, but I hate the Cowboys more. So speaking of the Eagles, they also had a pretty shit year. I mean,
considering that
they came off Super Bowl loss, went 10-1 to start the season, and then just finished 11-6.
Yeah, it's made Jason Kelce retire. Now he's out here doing commercials and
kitchens.
He didn't
actually retire officially yet. He said he's still thinking about it.
Okay,
so we don't know yet. But
you made him go put overalls and hang out with Taylor Swift at the damn Super Bowl.
I think.
And Ice Spice.
I think he's 80% retired, 20% coming back. I could be wrong. I'm not Jason Kelce. I have no freaking clue what he's thinking.
We'll know if he's in his mood or not. Shit.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, he said on I think a Shaq podcast. I don't know what Shaq podcast is. I don't know. So I seen it. He was talking to Shaq on a podcast, and he said he'll see how his body feels before the season, and that'll generally determine whether he wants to play or not. But the rest of the division, the Giants.
Oh, Giants again. Don't got no quarterback really. Ain't got much. Got Saquon.
Well, they made the playoffs and they won a playoff game last year. So coming into the year, you're thinking, oh, we're going to be pretty good this year.
Yep. And then
I'd say they
double-digit losses.
They got smacked by the Cowboys opening week, and they never looked back, and they never looked good, really.
They never looked forward after that.
Yeah, they just looked inept basically the whole year. There was times when they looked better, and there was times that they looked more like a better complete team, but they still never looked great.
Do we even gotta talk about the Commanders at this point?
They should
just go and give my people back some homage.
Is there much to say about the Commanders? They'll probably not be the Commanders much longer. I've heard they won't be. They want to change their name, which I
think at this point just get them the hell out of Washington, bruh.
I don't think that's gonna happen. They got a pretty big fan base.
Oh man, you guys don't do nothing.
They got a deep-rooted history in Washington.
Last time Washington playoffs were happening, Kirk Cousins was talking about.
If there is a team in this division I like the most, I guess I'll have to pick Washington. Because I hate New York, I don't like Philly, I don't like Dallas.
Yeah,
so I'm picking Washington.
I really do not like any of them other three options.
Yeah. All right, so down to the division, our division, where if you're a Lions fan, you are lying to yourself if you are saying we didn't meet expectations. Because the Lions went above and beyond these expectations because 9-8 last year. People forget that's just above 500. Yes, we finished the season I think 8-2 last year. That was a record people were throwing around like that was our final record. No, it was 9-8. So we barely missed the playoffs, and we came into the season just wanting to win a playoff game. We didn't even think about winning the division, really, because we still, I think in the back of our heads, we're thinking Green Bay and Minnesota pretty much are our biggest rivals for that. And Chicago's always a big question mark every year.
Yeah. You never know if Chicago's going to come dump 50 on your head or let you put 45.
Well, the thing is, Chicago, some years they'll be really good.
Oh yeah.
And then some years will be terrible.
Them Jay Cutler years are some of the best.
Yeah, wait.
And they'd be flip-flop too.
Yeah. And even with Jay Cutler, they could have good and bad years.
That was crazy.
So, Green Bay or Detroit exceeds expectations by far.
8 out of 10.
Two playoff wins. That hasn't happened since 1957. That's before the Super Bowl.
Yep, and first time in Super Bowl era history.
Yeah, and we have three playoff wins total as a franchise in the Super Bowl era now. Think about that. It's probably one of the lowest of any franchise. We are going to soak all that up, and we're going to love it, and we're going to say we exceeded expectations because we did. That's what our expectations were. Of course, this season, we're going to have a little bit higher expectations. Is that a good thing? Yes. Is it also a bad thing? Can be. But it's always a good thing to have the expectation that you have something to play for, or actually maybe be playing for the Lombardi at the end of the year. Maybe. We'll be in a long season and a lot of months ahead.
A lot of time.
So, next, Green Bay. Losing Aaron Rodgers.
Sucks.
Yes.
But
then you get Jordan Love, who you drafted and you've basically developed under Aaron Rodgers for the past 3 years. And people didn't know what he was going to be. People halfway through the season didn't know what he was going to be. Because Green Bay didn't look that good halfway through the season. Then the second half of the season came around. They kind of picked it up and they just
put it together.
They ruined our Thanksgiving again.
Hey.
Every year we always get our Thanksgiving ruined.
Might have ruined our Thanksgiving, but we still made it deeper in that bitch than them.
Hey,
come on.
Hey, I got respect for Green Bay.
Hey, all the respect.
I got
after
respect
what they
for
did to Dallas. Shit.
Listen, I got respect for our division rivals. I don't hate our division rivals. Like some divisions got Philly and Eagles fans will, I feel like, throw hands with each other.
Yeah.
I don't have that kind of hatred for the division.
We got enough respect.
Yeah. It's like a healthy respect, you know. I mean, we have an Adrian Peterson jersey. Yeah. So I got respect for the division rivals. Minnesota, I mean, Green Bay, they exceeded expectations again. Playoff win, beat Dallas, 7th seed.
Yeah.
First 7th seed to beat a playoff team.
Minnesota, let's be honest, really besides Cousins, there ain't much. That injury kind of took the season down.
Jefferson was hurt a lot through the year, too. That sucked.
And let's be honest, our roster's getting old, too. You got Harrison Smith running at 35 still.
They got a weird mix in their roster. They got some young guys, and they got some old guys. If they can maneuver the roster right and get the old guys out and get some more young guys in, they could have a pretty quick turnaround. Tough to say. Who knows?
That's
also,
the thing. What's the worth of them old guys as well anymore?
Yeah, and also, we don't know what their quarterback situation is going to be. Because if you're Minnesota, your number one priority right now, re-sign Kirk Cousins. It has to be. It has to be. Because
either that or start dumping the bag.
Who do you get? You don't get anybody else. There's nobody else in the free agent as a quarterback right now that you're going to be picking over him. Yeah, he's coming back from an Achilles injury, but you don't have much choice to pick anybody else. I don't know what you do because you don't have a high draft pick to get one of these quarterback prospects. But I've even seen people because they got to pay Justin Jefferson too.
Yeah, you do got to pay Jettas.
So they got both those guys. They got to pay right now. So can you do that? Maybe. I don't know. So I've seen.
And what about when Cook comes knocking too? There's money to be paid.
Who?
Dalvin Cook, right?
He's not there anymore. They cut him last year.
Who's running?
They got Masterson or Masterson or something like that.
Oh, Madison.
Yeah. And then another. Yeah, they got like a dual back system like most teams do nowadays.
Why I thought Dalvin was in my bag.
No, Dalvin's just been kind of bouncing around.
Yeah.
He was there last year.
He started turning journeyman on us.
I mean, you gotta be a little bit light to Frank here. He's not too in depth with other teams' rosters.
I really just know the broad.
I'm the real football nerd on this stuff, so I'll correct Frank here and there on some things. But Minnesota, I think you went a little bit below expectations. What are you gonna do?
Can't do more.
Your quarterback got hurt, like I said earlier. You lose your starting quarterback, hard to come back from. But it doesn't mean you didn't go below expectations, because you did.
Yeah. Didn't mean you didn't try, but you still went under expectations.
Yeah.
A for effort, but that's about it.
You still fell below. I mean,
Yeah.
There's many times when you want to be like, you've seen people talk shit about the Lions, but you're like, fair point.
I ain't gonna sit here and tell you 0-16 wasn't great, you know?
Yeah. So, yeah. There's not much you can really say to a lot of franchises as a Lions fan, but finishing out with our division in Chicago, they finished strong. They really could have finished strong if they beat Green Bay like we did last year at the final game of the year to keep them out of the playoffs like we did.
And they could.
That could have been the momentum they took into the offseason this year and really felt confident that they would have had a good team going into the next season. But that last game really, in my opinion, I think most Bears fans left like a bad taste in the mouth. Like,
yeah. Do I even want Fields running the quarterback anymore?
Yeah, I mean, you got to beat your division rival when they're playing to get into the playoffs. They beat you. They're in.
Just goes to show that our rivalry is way better.
We did that last year. We did it last year as the Lions. Like, that was our goal. As soon as we knew we were out of the playoffs, we were like, we don't want them in.
No.
So
you gotta go against your people. You can't just sit here and take the L and then let them walk in. Don't get me wrong. They walked in and beat Dallas. I'm happy.
Yeah, I think I didn't watch that Green Bay Bears game, but I seen a lot of fans and a lot of people saying that the Bears didn't even feel like they were trying in the game. So that sucks if you're a Bears fan to watch your team basically give up in the season.
Watch the white flag come out and surrender.
Yeah, basically just we give up. We're done.
Come on, Green Bay, go to the playoffs.
Yeah. But now, NFC South, we're a division that is full of teams that are just not that great.
Mixed bag and nothing good.
But Tampa Bay has that Super Bowl experience on most of their players with Mike Evans, Vita Vea, Chris Godwin, and I'm sure some linemen and
Devin
some
White,
other guys there.
Still.
Who?
Devin White, if he's still there.
He's still there. I don't think he's starting anymore, but he's still there.
Who else?
They got, I think, the Levante David, I think, is still there. He's still old, but
maybe JPP.
But I mean, that's a lot of really good players, and that's not too surprising that they won the division. I think a lot of people were surprised because it was Baker. If you're a Baker fan, I think most people were rooting for him and cheering for him and glad that he did it. And
Baker fans are some of the coolest people, man.
Yeah, I mean, Baker, I'm a Baker fan. I like Baker.
I like the Mayfield.
I like Baker. I mean, one of our friends is a really big Baker fan. Was really upset when Cleveland decided to move on.
Wish Baker was still in Cleveland, you know, but what can you do?
Yeah. They should have kept him. They'd probably be better off right now. But
they went for
what it coulda, shoulda. Who knows? But yeah, Tampa exceeded expectations. Baker, he's going to get that bag. Mike Evans, who knows where he's going to play next year. He might be in Tampa. He might not be. Who knows? We'll find out. New Orleans, you signed Derek Carr. You expected to win the division. You have a roster that you're paying boatloads of money. I've seen the thing that came up on Instagram the other day that showed the teams with the lowest amount of cap space. The Saints, by far, negative $85 million.
That's insane. That means you got a lot of money tied up between Taysom and them. You need to not have two quarterbacks.
Not even Taysom, just the entire roster.
Did they end up dumping a bag to Jameis too?
I think they're paying Jameis, they're paying Derek, they're paying Taysom, they're paying.
And let's not even get started on like Cam Jordan and them. There's people getting paid on a defense.
Tyrann Mathieu, Marshawn Lattimore. I mean,
yeah, you're just
Marcus Davenport.
That's a fire.
I mean, they got a really good team, but and they're in a really bad division.
Well, ever since Breeze, and then you gotta think Sean Payton leaving too. It's
this team, in my opinion, really fell below expectations. They should have been better. Yeah. They should have been better.
I'm saying at least the 3 in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean,
there's no way they're over.
They're definitely below expectations because how are you negative $85 million in cap space and you're not making the playoffs or winning your division?
How are you not making the playoffs and winning your division with such great names, even just based on namesake? You got 3 people.
And it's at every level of defense. for your defense, and you've got players on offense.
And if you look back, they hold people.
You've got Chris Olave. You've got Michael Thomas, who people have forgotten about, apparently.
Yeah, they kind of just call him slant dude and then let him fade off into history. Like, come on. He's a good player still. He's still got lots of potential, man. Come on.
Excuse me. I think they call him Slant God.
Bless
you. Jeez. I think they call him Slant God.
Yeah.
I think that's what his name is.
It's just a lot of nonsense, you know.
I can't remember what the statistic was on the yardage he had gotten from slant routes, but it was a high majority. But I don't think people want to.
Still can't take away from him, you know.
Everyone always wants to criticize a player for something that they do well, and it's like they can only do this just because you've only seen them do it.
I've seen LeBron dunk 10 million times. He can't only just dunk.
Like people would always say Tom Brady, the check down Charlie, but who was one of the best deep ball throwers I've ever seen?
He just didn't throw until it mattered.
He threw it once, twice, maybe 3 times a game. He waited, like he'd keep it. He'd make the defense come up, and then once he came up, then he hit you over the top. And he's playing the smart game. That's why he's the GOAT right now. That's why he's got 7 Super Bowls.
Hey, give him a homie some time. He's on the way.
I mean,
he is. I think
like I said, there's the GOAT right now, Tom Brady, and then you got the GOAT in question.
To be the GOAT.
In the works. He's in the works. Because if he gets one more Super Bowl, I think it gets really close in talks. It's very close right now.
If he three-peats, I think he gets it.
It's tough to argue against.
3-peat and 4 rings? Nobody's ever done that.
It's what I'm saying. If you do a 3, because nobody in the Super Bowl has ever 3-peated.
And if he shows up at the 4th one, he could just look at Bills fans and say, hey, I made it to 3 or 4. I made 1-3. Even if he does lose.
Yeah, let's just go on and blame him.
Not much there. Desmond Ritter, I think he has. Yo.
I mean,
Desmond Ritter not utilizing Kyle Pitts in any way, shape, or form.
Solid defense, solid offense, below expectations.
Amazingly below expectations.
Not much to say about
Bijan Robinson should have been the helm at all times. They didn't let him run it all the time.
They got Kyle Pitts. Yeah.
He had under 1,000 yards when he could have potentially 1,500. He's great.
Yeah, I mean,
utilization L.
Yeah, I mean they just
pieces. Dub pieces.
And probably a lot of people's opinion, the worst team in
the NFL
is Carolina, which is the next team. I gave them a 4 on a total score.
Oof.
That's a total. So expectations, floor.
Yeah.
Their talent, floor. I mean, staff, floor. I mean, the coach got fired.
Being honest with you, when you're letting a guy run the quarterback who should be a 3rd string anywhere else and he's your 1st string, it's not great.
Bryce Young's a 3rd string?
I don't think Bryce Young's that good, to be honest.
I mean, it's tough to say because there's not much talent around him. I think Dan Orlovsky or somebody said it best. He said, come back in 2025 and ask me about Bryce. And let me see him a little bit more because, like I said, every great player's got good players around him. I don't think he's got good players around him. It's tough to judge him if he's a good player or not.
But here's the thing, though. 2025, we're talking about how do we even know Carolina's going to make the moves to make him good? We could just see this man 2 years from now.
I can't argue that Carolina.
They do have a free agency though, but for this season though, directly nothing.
I can't say enough. Like I said, I can't be too definitive on C.J. Stroud yet because I want to see it consistently. And it's the same thing with Bryce Young. He could have just an outlier bad year with Bryce, and then he could be better than CJ next year for all we know. We don't know.
We do not know.
We don't know. But that's finally to the last division of the NFL with our Super Bowl runner-up, San Fran. It sucks.
I think expectations amazing. You did everything you wanted, but when you got to Mahomes, you didn't get to do it.
When you make the NFC Championship game 4 years in a row, you don't win a single Super Bowl, I think you're below expectations.
Coming from that standpoint, I'm gonna give you that.
And they also they're a premier franchise. They're 49ers. Yeah. They're not us Lions.
I've seen more 49ers hats than any other team in this state besides Detroit and Michigan.
There's a surprising amount of 49ers
You
fans
see
around
49ers everywhere in Michigan. I think it's just universal though, because even when I was in Vegas,
they're
there's
just
a bunch
one
of
of those
49ers
brands.
fans.
They're kind of like the Yankees a little bit. They're kind of one of those brands that just travels everywhere. They're kind of like the Steelers and the Raiders a little bit.
Like the Lakers a little bit.
Yeah, Lakers.
Celtics
Not as much. Not as much.
Who's now though?
Warriors. I mean, it's basically NBA is a lot of time.
Curry, Lakers, shit like that. You're gonna see LeBron and Curry everywhere.
I think NBA a lot of time is
back in the day. It was more LeBron and Kevin Durant. Yeah.
But
consistently been LeBron though.
But again, back to San Fran. Like I said, if you go to, they've lost 2 Super Bowls in that time. They went to
lost 2 to the same team, same man.
Yeah,
and then the other 2 they got beat by.
It's hard for me to sit here and be like, oh, Pat Mahomes is a GOAT, Pat Mahomes is a GOAT, and then criticize San Fran for losing 2 Super Bowls. 2 said they're GOAT.
Yeah. So I don't think we can actually put them directly under expectations. I think they have to do like a 5.5.
That's literally what I have. It was a 5.5. So
I can get down with that.
They got to the Super Bowl. They got very close. They got to overtime. They were right there. They just couldn't get it done.
And not to act like they were pushovers either. They went to them Super Bowls and played very, very avidly.
They could have won both of them.
2 different quarterbacks though, and look at the same constant. Mahomes was at both.
It's the difference between
a great team and a good team.
Well, I think they were both great teams. I think San Fran might have had a better team a little bit. They might have the best roster in the league, but
quarterback.
It's the quarterback that makes the difference. The quarterback, Brock Purdy, solid, maybe even great, maybe even really good.
We still don't know fully. We got some more time to go with him.
I think people are assuming that he's going to get better and better and better.
Oh,
I don't know if he's going to. Cause
he could cap out. You never know, because that's the thing. He came in with a very good system around him.
The thing is, with players that generally get better and better and better, they normally have a physical attribute that sets them apart, that makes them feel like they're going to get better. Like Lamar Jackson, he was insanely fast and can move crazy. He's everyone's you refine the passing, he could be one of the best players in the league. What's he do? Refines the passing, looks like best player in the league. He wins MVP again. So, that's the thing with the quarterback. He showed against us he can run a little bit against that NFC Championship game. But
he still didn't show though that
our Lions defense is wishy-washy at times.
My thing is, if you could show the run, but you can't do it as consistently as you want to, it don't matter. He can get the run when he's out that space, but the thing is, creating that space is his issue.
It becomes a problem when your opposing defense is wanting your quarterback to throw.
Yep.
That's a problem. And that's, I guess, is what they said was their game plan. Is that true or not? We don't really know, or we'll ever really know. They could just be saying that just to kind of throw some shade at Brock Purdy or whatnot.
Just to let their little talk be talk.
Yeah. But, San Fran, it sucks, but, you got 5 Super Bowls. I don't got too much sympathy.
Joe Montana was your guy, and I shouted him out earlier.
You guys knocked us out from getting to a Super Bowl, so...
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie.
For not taking a dub.
I'm not gonna lie. I was rooting for the Chiefs, and I do have a Mahomes jersey. I bought that when he beat you guys the first time.
Go Patty, go Patty.
And I am a little bit of a Chiefs fan.
Where's my
I'm not a Chiefs fan. I'm a Mahomes fan. I'll say that. I'm not really a Chiefs fan. I'm more of a Mahomes fan. I'm definitely a Lions fan.
Mahomes, Travis Kelce.
All right, but moving along in the division, we got the Rams, who exceeded expectations.
All day.
Nobody expected them to be good. Stafford coming back from back injury late in his mid-30s.
Nobody expected them to make the playoffs, I'll tell you that much.
No. Then they got this kid, Puka Nacua, that comes out of the draft. Nobody knows him.
And
nobody knows him.
Does.
And he just balls out game after game after game. Breaks every rookie record.
Cooper Kupp makes that late appearance to come balling.
Yeah, and then you got basically the 2 identical type receivers playing.
Oh, dude, next season's going to be scary for that. Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp healthy on the same field.
They might move on from Cooper just because of money. And he's older.
A bag's a bag, though, considering that man's done great things for your team.
You get a rookie receiver like that, it's hard to not just be like, all right, well, we got this guy. You know, I can understand them keeping him. I can understand them trading him. They might not. They might do it. Who knows? We'll see.
I don't think Cooper Kupp ever gonna have an Adam Thielen stage. I think he's gonna be good till he leaves. That's just my opinion on him, man. He's great.
Well, Adam Thielen's still good. I think. I just like I said, Carolina's like. I mean, Adam Thielen's not fast. He's not fast.
No,
he never has been.
I will say this: he's still good at making his routes. He's still good at getting where he needs to be.
He's always been a slot receiver. Always will be, and he's gonna generally catch the ball if you throw it to him accurately.
He's the guy when it's all covered 40 out and he got that 17 check down for you right there. You're just going to let him fall with the ball on the ground.
I don't think there's many people that are going to be like, oh, Adam Thielen sucks. So, I don't know. Thielen, I don't think Kupp I think is better than Thielen. Because Thielen never led the league in receiving.
Cooper Kupp has been the MVP damn near of the league.
Yeah.
That's actually insane.
So there is a higher ceiling, or I think a higher floor for Kupp probably.
Now, be honest, overalls, though, do you think Rams beat out San Fran in expectations or all season or what?
Yeah, I do. I think the Rams exceeded.
What'd you give the scores?
I gave them an 8 over.
Oh.
Because here's the thing. When you're San Fran, you came into the season basically Super Bowl or bust, right? I think most people came into that way. They didn't get it. So you failed expectations, in my opinion, and I think if you're most San Fran fans, you're probably saying the same thing. So, and Rams, again, you said it. Nobody expected them to make the playoffs.
Hell no.
And Kyren Williams or whatever running back name is, dog. He's crazy good. I think second-year player played crazy good. I mean, like I said, this team is coached very well.
Sean McVay does do very good things.
Yeah, and they still have Aaron freaking Donald.
Yeah.
I mean, the dude is.
And they got that ring a couple years back. I think LA is in a good position to make some more noise soon.
Yeah, well, maybe not. They still need some more moves. They got to shore up the roster a little bit.
So we got a free agency, right?
Based on this past season, they exceeded expectations by far. Seattle fell below them.
Yep.
Because they made this playoffs last year. They're the one that knocked our beloved Lions out.
Geno Smith.
Yeah, and made us go into that Lambeau game last year thinking, well, we had nothing to play for but beat Green Bay. So I don't have too lot of love lost for Seattle or even their fans. I'm going to be honest. You've had a lot of success in the past, 15 years or so. I mean, the team's been really, really good. Pete Carroll, obviously, is not your head coach anymore. He's, I think, more like an assistant role or whatnot now, or advisor or something like that.
Great run. But I think that man was amazing throughout every single year of his career, in my opinion.
But they fell short of expectations. They got a good defense. They got a solid team built around. I'd be a little excited if I'm a Seattle fan. The only question mark is quarterback. I don't know how long they're going to be rocking with Geno. No. He's only really a stopgap, We thought Jared Goff was going to be, but Jared Goff has taken us to places we didn't really think he was going to go. We kind of thought he got, most NFL fans kind of thought he got carried by those Rams teams in that running game to the Super Bowl. And he kind of has been with us a little bit, too, with Gibbs and Montgomery. But like I said, if you have a quarterback that can, take you to those spots, put you in a position,
then why not let him do it?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And he's similar to Brock Purdy. I think Jared Goff's better. And I can't say that at this point in time because he's got more experience. He's been to a Super Bowl and he's got, I don't know how many more playoff wins at this point, but I think he's got one more. But
it's good odds, man.
It's experience is a lot to say. He's got 8 playoff games. Jared Goff. He's won 4. He's lost 4.
He really came into his own now.
So he's not going to come into the playoffs at this point and be generally surprised or anxious or nothing like that.
He's going to have a nice playoff build and be ready to go there and do work.
So now I'd put him a little bit above Purdy, but he's similar to Purdy.
Okay.
And not for us. But yeah, Geno Smith is sort of a similar situation for Seattle, I think, where he's kind of like, I don't know how good is he. He's good, but is he going to take you to a playoff wins and a couple playoff wins?
Is he about to do something that you didn't think he was going to do at the beginning of the season?
And then Arizona to finish out the whole thing. They had, I think, just an average season. Just average.
I think that Kyler Murray being your man still might be an issue.
He didn't start the year. He was hurt, still coming back from the ACL. I don't know how many games he missed because they had Josh Dobbs playing to start the year, remember?
Just due to all these injuries, man, and the fact that when he was healthy, he hasn't done great things, I think you move on.
That's true. I mean, Kyler Murray hasn't impressed me too much. But I
will give him this. When Hopkins was there, he was making very great connections that I thought a higher level elite quarterback would have to do. Yeah. And he was doing it. But after that, man, it just...
But here's the thing.
Tubes.
This is their first year with their new coach, Gannon. I'm going to be a little lenient on them. Considering they came into the season.
I ain't blaming him.
They basically met the expectations.
I wouldn't say based on the coaching and everything that they actually had.
The thing is, they didn't have a whole lot of wins, but the wins that they do have, they beat, I believe, good stuff. Red Wings just won. Good stuff.
Oh, Detroit. That Sook. Oh, baby.
What was I saying? Oh, yeah. Kyler Murray. Fucking.
Or Gannon, we were going to judge Gannon based off.
It's tough to really judge his first year because it's his first year, and they're like I said, their wins that they got. They beat the Cowboys. They beat which had 12 wins. I have to look because I to see them back. But their wins that they got against some of their teams surprising. Like the teams that they beat were good teams.
They were teams that
but they just had like 4 wins.
Damn. Yeah, 4 and 13 really ain't gonna cut it ever.
Yeah, I mean 4 wins ain't gonna get you nowhere.
Yeah.
But
we ain't gonna sugarcoat that. But let's see what 4 teams they beat.
I gotta see them again because it was interesting. Okay, they like I said, they beat the Cowboys, which is the one. Then they played a close game with the Ravens. They lost by 7 to the Ravens.
Hey, considering what happened, yeah, I give them that then.
Let's see. They beat the Steelers by 14.
Steelers were above average, and they beat the Ravens last season as well.
And they beat the Eagles.
Damn.
How many wins do they got?
That's 4.
Is it 4?
Or was it 3?
I'm missing one. They beat the Falcons too.
Okay. Yeah. So it's 4 and 13.
Solid, a couple of pretty good wins in there.
Hang your head on the fact that if Kyler comes back and is ready to go, like Gannon's gonna be there to play.
They played better than most expected. They weren't expected to be that good of a team.
I didn't expect them to do over 2 wins, to be honest. Once I heard Kyler wasn't gonna be going crazy.
But yeah, that's pretty much the rankings I'd have for our NFL teams at this point. Going into the NFL draft, every team is obviously going to have different expectations. I'll just talk about the Lions. It's weird having the 29th pick because you don't normally pick so late. Because we're normally in
the top 5,
15,
10, top 10, top 15, range. Yeah.
It is a weird position to be in where we're like, what are we going to get? Because a lot of the time you can't really predict what you're going to get at the end of the draft because there's so many picks ahead of you, trades that can happen, and so many players that could get picked ahead of you.
Unless you're like the first 4 teams, then you can really have it kind of.
You have kind of an idea of
and even then you get surprised.
Yeah, because I think most people are in the assumption that Caleb Williams is going number 1. They just don't know if it's going to be to Chicago or if Chicago is going to keep Justin Fields, and who knows? Because Chicago holds all the dice right now. But as the Lions, you don't got many holes to fill other than corner. And we got money, so you can buy a corner. You don't really like generally rookie corners, but a lot of time you have seen in the recent years, you can find some pretty decent corners in the late first round, early second round. Like Joey Porter Jr., Steelers, a good rookie year. I think he got drafted like first pick, second round, something like that. So it's like you can find these really good players for our defense in the later rounds. I don't know. Like I watch college football. I don't know the talent that deep. I know mostly the quarterbacks, and I know Michigan players mostly, and some Big Ten. So I can't really sit here and be like, oh, they gotta take this dude, because I really don't know him that well.
No.
So I just can say position wise what they really should get. So I can't really go on too much of the draft. I don't have too much to say about that.
We'll get it right.
But the NBA All-Star game was last night. I don't know if there's much people that like to watch it. Do you?
Nah.
I mean, it used to be entertaining. I mean, it's kind of like most All-Star games and Pro Bowl and stuff like that anymore. It's just
something that just comes on so you can really see what players are.
I think
the coolest in the league at the time.
It's more for younger kids. I think.
Damian Lillard won the little 3-point competition. Go gang!
Did he win it?
He did.
Yeah.
He broke his record.
I didn't see who won the dunk contest.
I only seen that just because Giannis was hyping him up.
Yeah,
and if Giannis wouldn't have been there, I probably wouldn't have seen it.
Have you seen the TikToks with the Orlando Magic?
Yep.
Those are so funny.
Those are hilarious.
Oh my god. Those are some of my favorite things that I've seen on TikTok. If you guys haven't seen it, go to Orlando's official TikTok page, and every time they get a win, they have some like low quality, low resolution like
meme video.
Yeah, meme video, and then they have like a thing playing over it with the final score of the game that they just played.
Yep.
And it said, and then they have like a song that goes like Orlando Magic, Orlando Magic. And it's so funny.
Get me on a damn teams, bro.
It's just like, I love it when a sports team has a social media team that's just ridiculous. Just ridiculous. Yeah,
Detroit Lions go crazy on their social media.
They're not that crazy. The Chargers got a good one. Chargers got a good social media team. I can't wait until they do. I think the schedules are already out for next year for the NFL, but I remember when they did schedule releases last year, they had like a whole video of like, I think the Titans did one where they were going around to fans and they were like showing them pictures of like the team's logos, and they were like, what, like asking what team do you think that is, and there would be like, it was like the Cowboys logo, and it would be like the Stars.
Oh god. Going to any casual like, you could find.
And then go to the NFL song like or whatever.
Yep. Dude. Telling you, man, the creativity on some of these people.
That's why I mean, like these social media accounts for if you do something for your team that's just stupid, funny, I enjoy
all
it.
The support to you.
I enjoy it. But to other sports leagues that exist, MLB can't stand it at this point in time.
Oof.
I can't stand it.
This one will have to have its own dedicated episode one time. These guys are ridiculous.
Quickly.
I have to say that with the fact you can allow teams to move, you should also have teams held accountable. You should make sure that the money is spent, and if you're not spending over half the budget of the league on your team, you shouldn't be allowed to just freelance on to the next state.
Yeah, I mean...
Shout out Oakland Athletics.
Shout out to Oakland in general, just losing all your franchises.
You really can't make this up sometimes.
I guess you just gotta become a San Fran fan for everything. Gotta flip everything.
Just know I or Justin would be your commissioner, MLB. You can hire any of us.
I mean, I don't know what I'm doing, but I do know that...
Bailey Sports as well.
What I do know that MLB does badly, it is cater to the fans. They don't really care. It seems to be a shame because it's like a dying sport. And
it seems to keep going down and down the level of care. It should be up.
And in my opinion, care is going down as well, just because my personal team, the Tigers, they suck.
Nothing.
They can't do nothing right.
We could get 500 maybe, and that's a good year.
That's a prayer. I mean, the Tigers, they haven't been relevant since 2016 or 17, if that.
And even when we were, it was on a downward spiral.
Yeah,
at that
point in
we
time
went
it was going down.
anything was what, 10?
The last time we went to the World Series was 2012, and we swept out of that. Sucked. At least we swept the Yankees to get there, so I still hold on to that.
Don't get me wrong, I got that hometown support forever, but Detroit, get it together, man.
Yeah, baseball's not looking good, but Red Wings, on the other hand,
yes,
they
got some young talent.
They are, speaking of they got their overtime win, about 20 minutes or 10 minutes ago, and they are in the final spot right now for the wild card, and they'll be in position to make the playoffs for the first time, I think, in almost 10 years.
And that's what we like to hear.
So, Red Wings doing good stuff. We like to see that.
Wings forever.
Pistons.
No.
I mean,
I'm talking
does
about.
Does anybody even want to talk about the Pistons?
If you didn't have that 1 or 2 wins in between, this losing streak could have been 40 games.
They are honestly lucky that they have the amount of wins that they have right now, because at the rate that they were going, I seriously thought they were going to have the worst record of all time.
And they got lucky with some throw-in games.
With a full season. And I think the Bobcats had a worse record. I think they had like a 7-win season with a shortened season. And we were on pace to be worse than that.
With a full one.
Yeah. Which is
8-50 or something, I know.
I think last time I checked it was 8-46. It's like, and then I seen a thing on Twitter, and they had the audacity to be like, "Here, buy some tickets." For what? You should be paying me to go.
That's just something of lore.
Like, the Pistons. Since nobody on this podcast heard it, since it's the third episode, I can't stand Stan Van Gundy. That dude screwed our team. About 4 years ago, when he decided to trade for Blake Griffin for who knows what reason. I like Blake Griffin.
Very
don't take
reasons.
That as I don't like Blake Griffin. But look at the Pistons roster at that time. We had Andre Drummond, Reggie Jackson, and
I think we may even had Greg Monroe playing small forward too, or power forward.
We traded Reggie Jackson to get Blake Griffin. So we didn't even have him when he got here. So who was our point guard?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we brought in 2 bigs. One that can't play offense. Can only play defense.
We did some very, very bad things with that.
And that was right when Blake signed a massive extension with the Clippers. So we got stuck with his extension contract.
And then he took the 3 years over here and went to the Brooklyn Nets.
Yep. And I got no problem with Blake. This is
Zero.
not me shitting on Blake.
We're shitting on Stan Van Gundy. Why would you make a move like that?
Because the Pistons needed to be rebuilt at that point in time, but him in a last effort to save his job was to trade for Blake Griffin. And
desperation.
Guess what? He got fired at the end of the season anyway. So
all for what?
Yeah, this just screwed us over for the next couple of years because we had to ride with a mediocre team that Blake Griffin is going to just play for. It's like, we're not going to be a playoff team, and we're not going to be a bottom team, so we're not going to get some top picks. When we finally do get them, the team's going to be horrible. What happened? Look where we are. And we are thanks to Stan Van Gundy for it.
Shout out Stan Van Gundy for being trash.
You suck at
commentary.
Yeah.
Your ass ain't as good as your brother.
Your brother Stan, or your
Jeff.
Jeff, yeah, Jeff.
Give me Jeff 8 times out of the week.
10 out of 10. Stan, negative out of 10.
-5.
Hey, Stan, you suck.
We can't stand
you
Stan.
You suck. But that's pretty much all I got to say for now.
Thank you guys for coming on to the TinCan. It's been me and Justin, Big Frank.
Yeah. Thanks for listening to the ramblings of the psycho bad man that I am.
Thank you guys.